Hello, today's July 5th. I trust that everyone had a wonderful July 4th holiday. Here in Greensboro is amazing. It was a sweltering hot day, and then minutes before 9 o'clock at night, when dusk was upon us, the rains, the storms, the clouds opened. So I did hear some fireworks last night, but I did not participate. But hopefully you did, and hopefully you were safe wherever you were. Um, But I'd like to now focus on chapters 12 and 13. And I will let you know that our test will open on Sunday, as it normally does. But given that this is the holiday weekend, I will open it at 12 noon. Well, it'll probably open earlier than that, but on 12 noon officially. And it will open and remain open until 11:59 p.m. on Monday. You have 40 minutes to complete the test. And you should do very well with this. But again, chapters 12 and 13 will include the tests. And so what I'd like to do now is just begin looking at sharing with you some materials from chapter 12 first, and then we'll get into 13 after that. But the lion's share of this chapter is really about wholesaling and uh, retailing. So let me just get rid of these subtitles. And so I'm going to go through this. I'm going to try to maintain a 20-minute time frame or so for each of these sections so that they do not become overly cumbersome for you. But we will focus on, again, retailers um, and retailers and wholesalers. If you think about it, are the middlemen between the manufacturer of goods and services to the retailers. And obviously retailers are the organizations that provide, they're the ultimate end, if you will, of the supply chain. And what they do is that they provide products to end users, retailers, like your corner stores, convenience stores. It could be Walmart, Target, and other retail facilities. But we're also going to talk about intermediaries. If you think about an organization like Target, and Target has thousands of products within their store, it becomes very difficult, really difficult for smaller stores, though, but to maintain communications with all those different manufacturers. So they have to try to develop and actually have a good supply chain for the fruit vendors, for the juice vendors, for crackers, for cookies, and thousands of others. So it becomes very difficult to do that. So rather than do that, they actually have a intermediary or wholesaler. And the wholesaler's job is to really get all those products, because they're purchasing all these products from the different manufacturers, and they're purchasing them in bulk. Then if an organization wants to purchase the product, they will go to the wholesaler, and they'll find that the wholesaler will be able to provide that for them. So it really eliminates a lot of confusion for them. But again, we have wholesalers, which are intermediaries between the manufacturers and the retailers. And when we talk about wholesaling, we're really focused on all the different functions that are involved in the distribution of those products, from the manufacturer down to other businesses. And so they really link the manufacturers to retailers. That's what wholesalers will do. And so this is an infograph of different ways that marketers can be utilizing these different channels. The first on the far left is a direct marketing channel. We have maybe a manufacturer, could be Tesla, let's say. They actually sell directly to consumers. If you think about it, their business model is very different from others. They don't really have for the most part, they really don't have stores or auto dealers. You have to go directly to them. Dell has a very similar model. But if you look at the retail channel with many organizations, as I mentioned before, if you were to you look at Target. Target is saying that maybe they're going to go directly to the producer, but it becomes very cumbersome, right? Because they have to manage thousands and thousands of different products. So that's where, if you look at the wholesale channel, that's where the wholesale channel model comes in. And so the retailer then will order from the wholesaler distributor, And then the wholesale distributor actually contacts each of the different producers. Uh, if you look at TV now, there's a company called Granger, Granger, that's being advertised quite a bit lately, and they're a wholesaler really for businesses. And so, and I think I've mentioned this before in previous classes, on previous videos. But if you think about that wholesaler, again, they are really taking the burden of communicating, not marketing, but communicating with, negotiating with all those thousands of producers. And also now we have an agent model as well. The agent model, it's not exactly the same, but I'd like to say that I'd like you to think about it from a real estate perspective. As a real estate broker, you actually, if you think about it, a real estate broker, for the most part, is going to he or she has homes that they can sell, and they're actually helping the end user, right? But they don't take on any they don't take on they don't buy the house first and then sell it to you. They have a product or a listing of products and they sell it to you. And the same thing is true within manufacturing. You'll have well, I'll just tell you about this when we go forward a little bit. So wholesaling intermediaries. So we have merchant wholesalers, agents, and we have manufacturer sales offices. Let's take a look at these. The first two categories are independent. They're each independent businesses, and they're not owned by, they're not employees of anyone. For instance, when I worked at Hitachi, here in North Carolina, at one time, we only had 2 salespersons that covered North and South Carolina. One of our competitors had 22 salespersons covering North and South Carolina. The problem with us then is that we were able to win 90% of the deals where we were involved, but unfortunately we weren't involved in a lot of deals because of the fact that we only had 2 individuals knocking on doors where our competitors had 22 or more individuals. So to get around that, we entered into a intermediary responsibility or relationship. So we had other companies there that sold different products. And so they actually, company may have, maybe they were called IT solutions or DP solutions or data processing, whatever it is. They had all these different organizations and we utilized them so that they would sell our product. What they would do is that they would buy the product and they would sell. And oftentimes they would work in conjunction with me, and I would actually work with them. But because they had the relationship with the customer, they would go in for the main sale, but I'd be involved in the marketing planning and those types of things. But that wholesaling intermediary, in this case, they would take ownership of the product and they would sell it to consumers. And it was great for me because I wasn't involved with any of those things, but I had more feet on the street, and I would also gain credit for them selling. So, so we have the manufacturer, wholesaler, and then we have the retailer. Remember, the retailer is the last link in this chain here. Manufacturer is trying to, from a manufacturer's perspective as well, they're trying to get their products out to as many consumers as possible, and it's tough because they may, let's say you're a bicycle manufacturer, a high end specialty bike manufacturer. I'm not very familiar with the space, but I have friends that purchase bicycles that are worth $5,000 and $6,000. Many of those organizations, they're experts at creating those specialized bikes, but they are not specialists in selling or marketing to retailers. So they'll have wholesalers that are specialized in that space, and they'll purchase the bikes from them. They'll then sell them to the different specialty bike stores all throughout the US. But retailers, last link in the chain. Retailing, as you know, includes all the different facets of selling goods to the users. We have agents, as I said before. Agents, if you think about it, agents are similar to real estate agents, but you have agents also that are manufacturing agents. For instance, the Wilson Commerce Building is named after Plato Wilson. He was a manufacturing agent, and as a manufacturing agent, so he worked with all the furniture manufacturers in town, and so therefore he then would be able to sell those products to different furniture stores all throughout the United States. And obviously, he made a lot of money doing that because he was able to afford a building to be named after him, which I would believe to be worth tens of millions of dollars. So again, we have different types of wholesalers. Merchant wholesalers, that's what I mentioned before, and that's what Plato Wilson was. So he actually could buy the products from the manufacturer, or in my case, these the IT solution organizations, all these companies, they would purchase from Hitachi. They had the same solution that I sold, but we worked in concert so that we weren't stepping on each other's toes. And I was aware of what they were doing. They were aware of what I was doing. And so we were able to increase Hitachi's market share. When I say market share in the Carolinas, we may have found that Hitachi at one time was the market share, let's say the total spend in the Carolinas was $500 million. And let's say initially our piece of the pie, if you will, would be 10 million, but I want the whole thing. So I want to increase our share of the pie. And when we say market share, we're talking about how big is your piece of the pie. But these market wholesalers, they buy products from the producers and they take title to the products and then they sell them. Different types. So when those full service merchant wholesalers, some of the benefits and services they provide is that they will buy products. They're going to take ownership of them, and they will actually be able to sell aggressively those products to my consumers, to my customers as well. And in that case, we have more feet on the street, more people interfacing with the customers, and they're selling. More people are selling the Hitachi name. Let me see what we're doing here. So we talked about that. Then we have limited service merchant wholesalers as well. Maybe cash and carry, drop shippers. Maybe these are limited service wholesalers. We may have an organization that all I'm going to do is maybe I'm looking at AliExpress and Alibaba. I'm going to go to them. And then what I'm going to do is order multiple products from them, major shipments, have it drop somewhere, and then I'm going to have it shipped directly to these consumers. I can do that. Rack jobbers, something else. Some organizations will find that if you're going into a supermarket, maybe I will actually say, or some other store, let me say this, you've probably seen these individuals. It might be Pepsi, Coca-Cola, or other organizations. And if you're in Food Lion or if you're in Harris Teeter or some of these other stores, sometimes when you go in, you'll see these the individuals with their maybe the Pepsi shirt on, and they're counting the inventory. They're in the process of ensuring that the aisles look good and that their product is in the right place and it's at the place that they've determined. That's a limited service wholesaler. It's a rack jobber. And but be aware though that there are now some companies. If you think back to that infograph that I had earlier about wholesalers, we had the manufacturers, you had the wholesalers, and then you had the retailers and then the consumers. Well, you have to pay those people. And so if I could eliminate some of those intermediaries, that potentially could result in increased profits to my organization, or perhaps I can reduce my prices to the end consumer and make that even more attractive. And so by doing that, that is a process called disintermediation, where we're eliminating the intermediary. It's a phenomenon that's taking place. You're starting to see it. It's not widespread now, but many organizations now are interested because, remember, they can reduce their prices if I can eliminate paying someone else that's in that supply chain link. However, you have to remember that by eliminating those wholesalers, now an organization like Walmart, if they are limiting the wholesalers, they have to have a great relationship with the suppliers. Oftentimes, they'll be involved with increased technology such that the suppliers can determine when my supply is low. And when I've reached a certain reorder point, they'll automatically ship that in. So that's some of the things that are occurring with some of those full service merchandisers. I want you to read through some of these items as well. As we talk about the agent types, main thing I want you to remember here is that the agent types, there's many different types. Manufacturer's representative means that someone from an organization, in my case, it could have been Hitachi. Maybe I have representative selling. I have selling agents. I have brokers, agents and brokers. Think of them again as from a concept or perspective of real estate. I'm just using that as an example. They're not taking ownership of the product. They're not taking ownership of the homes. They actually have the homes, and that they may be a selling agent or a buying agent, but they are working in the interest of either the end user or the manufacturer or the owner of the home and selling. So we have different types of ways that we can do that. That could be an auction house as well. A lot of different ways that we do this. And agents functions, right? If you think about a real estate agent again, rarely will they take title to the products they sell. They have it. They've been licensed to be able to sell the product, and they do that. Typically, it's on a commission basis. And today it's 6%. But again, even if we think about real estate agents, if you've looked at that market recently, you'll see that there's been disruption in that market space as well. Today, most agents, buyers and sellers, they receive 6% commission. Some organizations are trying to eliminate those commissions or reduce them dramatically by utilizing new business models. And so we're seeing different ways that people are trying to get around that and trying to eliminate some of those agents as well. Major trends, right? The internet really has been phenomenal. It's really changed the way we live. The same is true about business, because in the past, if I was ordering products, I'd have to manually call them up. Today, maybe I can go to their website, and when I go to their website, I can determine if I'm High Point University and I'm trying to purchase 5,000 brooms for next year, maybe I'll go to Grainger's website, I'll go to someone else's website, I'll go to Alibaba's website and some others to determine who can provide me with the most cost-effective value for my dollar. So the same is true. So major trends. Burdens of the internet wholesaling, retailing, right? Large retailers will bypass now some of those wholesalers. And if you're an intermediary, how do you seek differentiation? How are you differentiating the way that you sell your products and that you supply it and provide products versus your competitors? Today's life it's all about differentiating. How can I differentiate myself from others? Relationships are solid. I've got to have a solid relationship, but I must also determine how am I going to provide this product in a manner that will cause consumers or retailers to call me instead of my competitors. So we're always seeking to differentiate our solutions. So we have different types of retailers, right? We talked about wholesalers, different types of wholesalers, now retailers. You have different types of resellers as well. And if you think about retailers, they operate typically out of an office, and sometimes you may have to make purchases. If you look at prior to the internet, or prior to maybe 2 or 3 years ago, if you wanted to order something from Target, I say prior to the pandemic, if you wanted to order something from Target, you'd have to drive to Target. If you wanted to order something from Walmart, you'd have to drive to Walmart. But so typically those in-store retailers, you'd operate it out of a traditional fixed or a brick and mortar location. You drive to them and move, and you must visit them to make a purchase. And so here's some inline retailers include general merchandise stores, limited line stores. So a general merchandise store may be a Target pre-pandemic, or a limited line could be maybe it's a special, perhaps it's a store that sells maybe undergarments, like what is it, Vanity Fair? No, Victoria's Secret, those types of stores. And so general merchandise, again, they stock wider assortments, but you can have department stores, convenience stores. They could be large stores, it could be discount stores, it could be a Dollar General, it could be a Target, it could be any of these types of stores that provide these types of services. Limited line, as I said before, it could be a Victoria's Secret, right? Could be a factory outlet. Factory outlet could be, as you're aware, there is like a Brooks Brothers outlet. If you go to a Brooks Brothers outlet, you may be able to purchase similar goods that you'd find in a normal Brooks Brothers store, and it may be 50 to 60% off. Matter of fact, Dillard's has a specialty store or a clearance center in the High Point Mall near us. In that High Point Mall, there's nothing open in that entire mall except one store, and that's Dillard's. And Dillard's actually As I said, everything in the store is 50 to 65% off, and then they have additional sales on top of that. Types, non-store retailers. If you think about it, there's not a storefront, but maybe you're just selling. Could be a telemarketer, right? That telemarketer does not need to be in a store. Many telemarketers today are operating out of their home, and they have a headset like the one I have. They'll have a list of individuals they're supposed to call. They'll have a script. That's it. We may have people that are e-tailers, right? And then other types of direct marketing. So they operate from locations that customers never visit. Again, here's some other types of non-store retailers. You see vending stores, television sales, those types of things. And then areas that it's very important. It's really critical that when you're selling or when you're marketing, that your product is in an area where that's going to affect the sustainability as well as the profitability. So it's very important that you have a retail location that's in an area of high traffic area, right? And that promotes the store image. When you walk into a Apple store, there's a certain image that's being projected there. And all Apple stores throughout the United States, at least the ones that I've visited, all have the same persona. And, and oftentimes also they can provide greater customer service in those locations because there's face-to-face. There's face-to-face sales involved there. But that's all I have for you today in chapter 12. I want to keep this short, go through, read the materials, and remember that we will have a test on Sunday. And the test will open 12 noon and will remain open until 11:59 on Monday evening. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. I'm going to sign off now and end this